Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. Double sized issue 175 of The Uncanny X-Men from 1983. And you can see here who's back. I have several playlists. Look at this. The Dark Phoenix versus the X-Men. I have a X-Men playlist which just has the X-Men. I have an X Universe playlist, which covers everything, all done in reading order. I also have a New Mutants playlist. Everything is done in reading order. So feel free to check it out. If you're only interested in X-Men, check that one out. If you're interested in only New Mutants, check that out. I have the Wolverine limited series also on a playlist by itself. But again, check out that X Universe one if you want to see everything in reading order. So, good cover here. This is Paul Smith's final issue of X-Men. John Romita Jr. will be taking over. John Romita Jr. will actually be doing half this issue, and Paul Smith will be doing the extra issue. I actually enjoy this cover here from Adam Hughes. Look at this. Hi guys, you miss me. Do you guys like this one better? I sort of like this one better. Yeah. So, all right. This is the 175th issue, 20 years of X-Men. So, we have the X-Mansion here. And it looks like the X-Men are taking down this tree here. And Rogue talks to Storm, says, "Why so sad, Storm? The tree was as good as dead from disease." And Storm says, "Once Rogue, I believed myself the caretaker of all living things. I should have sensed its illness, but I did not." So, why such a big production, though? Wouldn't it have been easier and faster for me or Colossus to pulverize the tree? More efficient, says Storm, but less fun. This way we have an opportunity to exercise both powers and teamwork. And so Rogue says, "Sugar, you're starting to sound like Professor X. Hey," as it gets really bright here. And suddenly, the Phoenix, blessed goddess, says Storm. It is gone as suddenly as it appeared. Rogue, above us, someone is falling. And so Storm thinks on the way up, I was not hallucinating. The Firebird was really there. Rogue and the others saw it as well, just as I did weeks ago in Japan. So, X-Men 172, which I have in my playlist. And Rogue asks, "This is very weird, Storm. What's going on here?" She asks. And so, "I wish I knew. I fear we shall soon find out," as she catches Cyclops. Look at this. And so, Nightcrawler, take Cyclops to the infirmary. And Cyclops says, "There's no time for that, Storm. Did you see? Do you understand? Dark Phoenix has returned." And Professor X projects his mind or his face here. "X-Men, Cyclops, report to me at once in my study." "We're on our way, Professor," says Storm. So here we are. They're all ready for action. And so Cyclops is going to explain a little exposition, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. Normally, I skip over the exposition, but decided to kind of do it this time. With your telepathic abilities, Professor, you know of my fears about Madeline Pryor, that she might be some kind of reincarnation of a phoenix. I was a man possessed. Each time I put my doubts behind me, they reappeared stronger than ever. Last night in Alaska, I asked point blank if she was Jean reborn. In return, I got darn near incinerated by an energy bolt. The last thing I remember before Rogue caught me outside here. So one of the things that's kind of, if you notice when I do the little bumpers in the beginning, I have Shadowcat on her blue costume, and that's because during this time, I don't know whether it was her costumes were just so freaking different. I just went with the classic blue one because I just every time, every issue, she seems to have a new costume on. So, all right. Was Dark Phoenix standing over me laughing? So, and Professor Xavier says, by the way, he has use of his legs. He just can't. Uh, he's working on training them, but it's funny that he still wears the blanket. That's a circulation issue, but he's got his legs back. He shouldn't have circulation problems, so he shouldn't need the blanket over his legs here. Jean, Phoenix loved you, Scott. Why? Why did she attack? Why heal your wounds with the images in your mind? Tell me. Sorry. Let me repeat that. Why heal your wounds, which the images in your mind tell me were agonizing and fatal? Our first step must be to find her and learn her intentions, and from there deal with them. So. We're facing a cosmic entity, Professor. Phoenix consumed entire star systems. Would it not be wise to summon reinforcements? Asked Storms. Or and so then sorry, it's hard with the direction. So then the professor says, when I'm convinced of the threat, Storm, I sensed Jean's death years ago, but not this malicious rebirth. And I should have. Cerebro will amplify my sight talent 100-fold. If Phoenix exists, this will enable me to find her. So, but suddenly, he's electrocuted here and screams out. Rogue says, I'll cut the power. Someone cut him loose before he fries. And, Colossus is like, Tovarish, is he alive? And Nightcrawler says, barely. I have to teleport him to the infirmary. Love the eyes here. And so Nightcrawler does. This will be touch and go, her professor. Condition is already critical. I only hope the strain of teleporting didn't make things worse. So back here, we now have Wolverine here. Cerebro's supposed to have automatic safety systems to prevent against that kind of massive feedback. You're the computer whiz, Pumpkin. Check out the control console, will ya? And Kitty says, you think this was sabotage, Wolverine? And he says, I've got a nasty, suspicious mind, and that zap was awfully convenient. It wouldn't hurt to eliminate the possibility. And Kitty says, this is crazy. The safety interlocks have been disengaged. Everything's reversed. The professor's powers were amplified, but instead of projecting his psi energy outward, Cerebro reflected it back at him. It's almost like he did this to himself. And Storm says, but how can that be? We saw every move every move he made. There were no mistakes. The settings were correct. So, well, they ain't now, says Rogue. Actually, Storm, there's a simple explanation, says Cyclops. What is it? And then she yells out his name. Would you believe? And here he's glowing like the Phoenix. The end of the world. So, hi guys. Miss me? Great panel. Oh my goodness gracious. As Cyclops falls, the Phoenix was on him. So everything will be explained by the end of this issue. So this has been Chris Claremont's sort of long plot thread since the X-Men came back from the Brood world. So, and Storm says, "You may wear the form of our friend Demoness, but you are not her." And then Storm says that aloud, and then she thinks, Phoenix must have used her own psi power to sabotage Cerebro. And now she struck down Scott as well. Her intentions are clear as crystal. We must counter swiftly with all our strength. So, Storm, of course, tries her lightning bolts on her. An impressive display, Ororo, but what makes you think your lightning will prove any more effective this time than the last time we fought? And it she sends it back to her. And Colossus is like, for mercy's sake, Jean, stop. You're killing her. Not really, Peter. Not yet. I mean to play a bit first. So, look at her. Look at this meanness. So, your armored body makes you one of the most formidable X-Men, Colossus, but I see that what happens when I close my hand thus, and you can see him kind of get shrunk down like she's gonna crush him here. My telekinetic powers can render planets asunder, little Russian. It can do considerably worse for you. So, Peter, yells out Kitty. Lockheed, we've got to help him. And so, Kitty thinks here. According to our files, Phoenix is composed of pure energy. Maybe my phasing powers can short circuit her just like they do electrical system when I pass through them. And so she yells, silly girl, here's a taste of your own medicine. As for your pet dragon, he'd best keep his distance and mind his manners, or I'll barbecue him. So, as she smacks him out. But who have we here rushing towards oblivion? And Rogue introduces herself, and she says, I don't take kindly to people beating on my teammates. So, and then she grabs her. Oh, really? So, very cool stuff happening here. And she tosses Rogue. Look at that, very hard. Boom. Nice moves, Jeannie. You sure ain't lost your touch, says Wolverine. And she says, thank you, Wolverine. I see you extend your claws. Care to try your luck? And he says, nope. So, and she goes, smart move. I have some errands to run, but they shouldn't take long. When I return, we can all pick up where we left off. And so, and Rogue is like, Logan, you did not fight. And he's like, didn't see much sense in it, darling, but we'd better have some sharp moves ready for the rematch, because I figure that scraps will be for keeps. So Storm says, I agree, but first we must tend to our wounded. Colossus, help me carry Scott to the infirmary. Kitty, contact the Starjammers. We must warn Scott's father and Princess Lilandra of the danger. Wolverine, you find Rogue. She is nowhere near as invulnerable as she likes to think. That throw may have hurt her. So, and so we see here a few minutes later. And Kitty says, I've been trying to contact the Starjammers ever since Phoenix left, Storm, but there's a massive interference all across the spectrum. Even our lasers and subspace comm links are being scrambled. And Colossus asks if this is Phoenix doing, and Storm says probably, and asks Kitty to keep at it here. And then suddenly Kitty says, I'm getting a response. And here, we see Corsair. And he says, Phoenix attack, no warning, less chance. Our Starjammers, Lilandra, dead. I'm only one left. My ship's gutted, wrecked. Another will finish us. Here she comes. Tell Scott and his brother Alex their old man is proud of them. Tell them I love, and then it's cut off. And the X-Men look like, what the hell? So... Oh, this is a really good story. This is where Claremont was once again back in in his A shape. He had a very long run on X-Men. They can't all be winners, you know. Sometimes as you're writing, not every idea it happens to everybody. Stephen King, everyone that has a big body of work, you can't, you know, a director can't direct every movie as an Oscar winner. For example, M. Night Shyamalan, his best movie is his first movie. I always feel like every movie that he makes after, even if it's good, falls short. And I always feel like he peaked in his first movie, which is unfair. But, you know, Steven Spielberg, again, to me, to me, he hasn't made a great movie since Jurassic Park. That's back in the 90s. Now, he's made some good movies, but, you know, when you look at Jaws and you look at E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark, you look at Jurassic Park, this dude, you know, he's done good movies. He's done some bad movies too. You know, so when you have a long body of work, you can't do everything, you know, all the time at 100% and everything is just the greatest thing you've ever done where everything just exceeds, you know. And so he had some low points after the Dark Phoenix saga. He'll have some low points after this as well. But overall, there are times when Claremont will create something and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, genius. So that's why you give people chances at runs, which is something, unfortunately, that just doesn't happen often now. A lot of people just don't have big, long runs anymore, and that's unfortunate. So, all right. So Kitty Pryde says, How could she? They were her friends. What do we do now, Storm? Who should I call next? And so they call Avengers Mansion. Here's Captain America. I'm Storm, leader of the X-Men. We need the Avengers' aid, Captain, urgently. The fate of the world, if not creation, hangs in the balance. Give me the details you can, Storm. I'll summon the others. And then suddenly there's a rumble here. The threat is the Dark Phoenix, a former goddess. The ground is shaking. Is it an earthquake? Comrades, look at the screen. And suddenly Captain America is taken out. It's gone blank. The transmission has been broken. Oro, do you think? See for yourself, little brother. For the creature who once consumed the world, 5 billion innocent souls, destroying a city is child's play. So she destroyed New York again. We're gonna get everything revealed. If you've never read this story and this is the first time you're in for a treat, I truly think that Chris Claremont did an excellent job of crafting this particular story here. So Storm says that Kitty patched into a military satellite and saw that New York has been destroyed. Everything, Manhattan says, is a cauldron of molten rocks. Fantastic Four, the Avengers, Doctor Strange, the Morlocks, it's all gone. And says, we are alone. So then she asks for his patients, which are Cyclops and the Professor. And Cyclops says, I'm stabilizing the Professor. Barring complications, he should recover. And Storm asks of Cyclops, and he says, physically, he's in perfect health. He shouldn't even be unconscious, yet his condition deteriorates by the minute, as if Phoenix stripped him of the will to live. And then she says, is there nothing you can do? And, sorry, Nightcrawler, too many, sometimes with there's too many characters, I just get a momentary flip. So Nightcrawler says, pray. And so, here, Cyclops says he hears voices, and it's himself, so he's seeing everything. And he's narrating everything happening here. He hears them talking about him and says, it doesn't sound so good. He sees his body, like I said, and says, that's just a shell. My essence, the real part of me that matters is up here, whole and untouched. Fantastic. So, Storm looks sad, trying so hard not to let it show. She reminds me of me. I want to comfort her, tell her that everything's okay, but she doesn't hear me. She can't. She's alive. I'm not. So, Storm leaves and says, "Let the Autodocs care for Scott and Professor Xavier Kurt. I need you with the others." So, and so Storm, Cyclops is basically going into the light here. And then he says, "I see her. No, it's wrong. Someone else. Yet something about her is achingly familiar. Probably her mother, his mother. Stop. Come no further. Why not? This place is not yet for you, my darling boy." And he goes, "What do you mean? Who are you? Look within yourself. There you will find your answers, and they will lead you to your heart's desire." So, basically, the mom returns him back. It's kind of cool. And of course, he realizes it's his mom, and he wakes up here. So Cyclops says, "I'm awake. I'm crying, remembering who I was looking for. Sorry. I'm crying, remembering who I was looking for, how certain I was I'd find her. I suppose no matter what I said or did, I never really accepted what happened years ago, but now I have no choice. Jean is dead. But if that's who, but if that's so, then who or what are we up against? Last night, Madeline transformed to the Phoenix, blasted me, healed me. Today, Phoenix emerges from me and I get burned again. But look at me, not a scratch. Suppose I wasn't burned at all, but only thought I was. Suppose there was no Phoenix either, and we're just being tricked into believing she's returned." He's getting it. It's kind of like where it's being solved for us. And although we can already make the assumptions, so this is the last issue in this particular story arc, so we do need to wrap things up. So, but that explained why Charles was zapped to prevent him from learning the truth. It also explained the time that passed between manifestations. Phoenix could cover the distance from Alaska to here in an instant. So why a 12-hour delay unless someone had to fly from Anchorage to New York? But who? That someone's going to an awful lot of trouble, and from all indications, his knowledge of the X-Men is as deep as his hate. He plays with reality. Nothing is what it seems. And his plan revolves around the Dark Phoenix. So we already should know who this is because we have been again, we've been reading these and again have a playlist. It can only be one person. So I have to warn the X-Men and then flush him into the open with no idea of when, where, or how he'll strike next. For the moment, I have the advantage of surprise. He must believe that I'm dying. But once I show myself, he'll do anything to prevent my unmasking him. I'd better rig some aces in the hole to even the odds. Lord knows what he's done to Madeline. It doesn't matter. This time I play by his rules. And when I catch him, he's a dead man. So, and then he comes in and says, "Storm, I've found the answer. It wasn't Phoenix we're facing." And so, of course, there's an illusion. They think he is Phoenix. "Murderous! Have you come to gloat over your butchery?" So Storm is using her power, and he's like, "It's me, Cyclops." And then, of course, he realizes then that he is being made to look like Phoenix. And so Colossus unfortunately grabs him and just hurls him down. And Cyclops is like, I felt a couple of my ribs snap. So he uses his optic blast because he cannot get hit again. And so he's kind of gonna topple them, use his training to take care of them. And you can see Cyclops, was the team leader, so he knows what he's doing. And so look at Kitty's Dragons even gets into the fight. And here comes so Cyclops is gonna try to get away. love Paul Smith's art. I wish he would have just stuck around. Um, and Kitty grabs him here, and so I was wondering where Kitty would show up. Let's see if I can turn her attack to my advantage. Wolverine must have uh, taught her that tackle. It hurt. Um, and so they see that they're going off the balcony. What's that dumb kid trying to prove? Joni will roast her alive. Then we must deny her the opportunity. Downstairs, X-Men, quickly. And so Cyclops says, perfect. Kitty reacted precisely as I anticipated. I caught her off guard. She didn't think to simply let go. And now, rather than crash into the floor and risk serious injuries, she's facing us through. And so now they're going into the danger room. So, a Storm says, arrange a proper welcome for Phoenix, Nightcrawler. If you can save Kitty as well, do so. But remember, against this foe, our lives are expendable. And Nightcrawler says, I agree. So, Nightcrawler lets us know that the room is designed to train, not kill. So he'll have to disengage the system. But will the Phoenix give me a chance? And he says, no matter, I must try. And so they land here on these airbags, and when she solidified, it says here, Cyclops, Kitty instinctively solidified when we popped into open air. Careless move. The professor will scold her for that because before she can get her bearings, a nerve pinch will put her out of action. And so they land on the airbags. And so, forgive me for what happens next, Nightcrawler, which of course is he rigged the danger room. So, and here come the X-Men. So he's going to use the danger room to his advantage here. And so, look at Wolverine. Cripes! And so, it's the Savage Land. And so, Rogue, catch Colossus. Leave Wolverine to me, says Storm. And so they do. Storm asks where they're at, and Storm explains the danger room and what it does. I won't read that part because we should all know. And so Mastermind continues. I've been stalking the X-Men for months in a variety of guises, gently taunting them and tormenting them, laying the groundwork of my master plan, as well as taking time to pay back some old scores with former colleagues. I planned to use whoever was Scott's girlfriend for my ultimate deception. Your uncanny resemblance to Jean Grey provided a delightful, unexpected irony. It took very little effort to persuade the lad that you were his dead inamorata, reincarnate. He was half convinced of it the moment you met. So he had used the priest during the Jean Grey era here. I must confess, Madeline, you are a lovely creature. It's almost a shame to sacrifice you when we could make such beautiful music together. And she's like, Scott, how did you get here? Magic. Quit joking. We're in terrible danger. A man named Mastermind is here. Scott. And you can see here that he laughs and they kiss. And here is Mastermind's true face. So, and look at her. Surprise, I used to look like this, but I prefer the Wingard physiognomy. Had I wished, though, I could have made you love me, whatever my appearance. I may yet do so. Won't that be fun? And look at her. Look at the disgust and covering of her mouth. That is grade A storytelling. So, back in the danger room here. And, Scott's running here. So he says here he won't have to worry about Nightcrawler, Teleporting, or Kitty fizzing in front of him. And the dense jungle will keep Rogue or Storm from spotting him over the air. But he says he has to be careful because even though he programmed the simulation, he's still a part of it, and he can get clobbered just as easily. And he says also the room isn't that big. He can't run or hide forever, but he doesn't intend to. So here we go. So here come Colossus and Wolverine. Cyclops is above. He's still trying to trail the scent, which he believes her scent is Cyclops' scent. So, and quickly he uses his optic glass blast and takes down Wolverine. And Colossus know they have an ambush here. So, and he knows he only took care of Wolverine for just a moment, and Wolverine will recover. So he says here the idea is to keep the X-Men off my back, but still leave them able to fight by my side when I finally confront Mastermind. So like the little detail of the moss growing on the tree and even a little bit of mushrooms here. So and so above or below, Colossus looks up and he says, "Face me. Surely I'm not that formidable a foe." And of course, Cyclops says, "You'll do till one comes along, Colossus. That shot I took from you nearly finished me." So he says he's out of shape. He hasn't had this kind of training in a while here. And he says, even without my cracked ribs, it's costing me. I'm slowing down, losing strength and agility. And here comes Colossus. "You try as you might, you will not escape our vengeance." So, and Cyclops is like, "Wanna bet, big fella?" And he falls into quicksand. And Cyclops is like, "So far, so good." So, all right. So this is sort of a Cyclops versus the X-Men portion here. So, um, the caves, that caves the exit. My illusion works, uh, against me now. It's barely a dozen yards away, yet it seems like miles. I can't move too fast either. I want to be spotted. My breathing mask in place. A wind rising behind me. Storm. So this is just great storytelling. I'm telling you, Paul Smith leaving is pretty sad. Yes, John Romita Jr. is a very decent storyteller now, but he was still um, learning the craft to say. I mean, he'd had his run on Spider-Man and he'd done some other stuff, but Paul Smith's work is so freaking beautiful, and I would have liked to have seen Paul Smith stay just till like when John Romita Jr. stayed right before Mark Silvestri took over. So all the way to the Mutant Massacre, because Romita Jr. left to go do Daredevil after that. So all right. So Cyclops says, "Hers is a long range power. She'll strike first, probably with lightning. Here it comes." Um, so Storm thinks here, Phoenix can fly. Why does she remain on the ground? Is this some perverse game, or could there be some other explanation? So she's starting to figure out that not everything is going on. So the bolt misses, but Cyclops uses his beam to hit um, hit Storm here. So Cyclops says it's because she hesitated. So all right. And so down goes Storm, but she's caught by Rogue. And Rogue is like, "Time for our rematch, sweetheart." And uh, Cyclops is like, "Perfect. She's right where I wanted. A wide angle shot should fill the air with Oz dust or Oz poppy dust." So, given Rogue's natural vulnerability, nothing less than a full power optic blast would even begin to phase her. And you can see she's going down. The solution bypass her power and strike where she's vulnerable. With a batch of Wizard of Oz poppies specifically keyed to affect her mutant physiology. So Claremont thinks of everything. I put her medical file when I programmed the danger room. One whiff of dust and she's fast asleep. Bless the professor for redesigning the room. I couldn't have done any of this in the original. Everything said, as soon as I exit, the computers will shut down the entire house, including the surveillance system Mastermind's no doubt been using to watch the show. He won't know where I am. He'll have to come after me. So that's the plan. Rogue is the key to my plan. It was reading her file that gave me the idea. Professor's still unconscious. In his condition, I can't risk waking him, but Rogue has the power to absorb another person's memories and abilities just by touching me. She can't control herself either. The slightest contact initiates the transfer. I should be able then to shift Xavier's psi power to her without doing him any physical harm. And so the risk is to Rogue and me. She might not be able to handle some suddenly becoming a telepath. In her panic, she could easily burn out my mind. So he takes off her glove and he says, "Unfortunately, I can't see any alternative." And then he uses, oh, what would you call them? Like, I don't know, but it's that stuff that you smell, and all of a sudden we kind of wake up, and then as soon as she's like, "What?" and he goes, "Here we go," and then she touches him, and so she screams, and then Cyclops kind of uses his to make it to ease her into it because he sort of knows the tricks that Xavier taught him, and you can see that Rogue can now use the power. So, all right. So, here come Wolverine and Colossus. This is awesome. And he says, "Wolverine, all of you must not believe what you see. Your senses, your thoughts are playing you false. You're being tricked. If I'm Phoenix, why am I bothering to talk to you? Why run from you? I've given Rogue Xavier's psi power. I'll open my mind to hers. Let her touch your thoughts as well as you'll see the truths." And so Rogue says, "Psych, no, suppose I make a mistake or they don't want to believe me. I still don't know what I'm doing." And Cyclops says, "Relax, Rogue. Follow my lead. You'll be okay. A mind link already exists between us. Simply expand it to include the others. You're not facing the Phoenix X-Men." And they're like, "It's Cyclops." So, and Wolverine is like, "How do we know this isn't a trick?" And behind them, "Because, little man, the trickster's right behind you." And here she comes. And Cyclops yells out, "No dice, Masterman. The game's over. Your Phoenix can no more fool us than harm us." And she's like, "Brave words, my love. You're an illusion, a fake. You can only hurt us if we let you." And so she uses, "See? But suppose from the heart of the heart, sorry. But suppose from the heart of the supposed illusion there comes a deadly piece of reality." And suddenly he feels something. And he's like, "A gunshot, silencer, equipped, so no one heard it. Wolvie, maybe I'm doing this wrong, but my sight probes register nothing from Phoenix, almost as if she doesn't exist." And Wolverine is like, "Yeah, there's also a portion of this room, a kind of dead zone, that my senses can't focus on. I felt the same thing when Xavier was zapped, but never got the chance to figure it out since things happen so fast. Storm, Sykes on a level, and Mastermind's in here with us." And so she uses her powers here, and he goes, "Then, my friend, I must ensure that he remain." So she creates a thunderstorm, a tempest basically in here, and you can even see that it's so powerful. It's bringing down the X-Men, and they're kind of holding on because they know that she's got to do it here. And you can see Rogue protecting Xavier, and she yells out, "Storm, for the love of mercy, no more! You're killing us!" And Kitty faces out, and she's like, "Oh, I'm safe, but what about the others? The storm destroys the infirmary. Even if she defeats Mastermind in the process, how can we help whoever's injured? Or is she under that creep's control? Maybe this is part of his plan to have Ororo do his dirty work. This should be sufficient. Once creating such a tempest would have left me exhausted. But violent weather comes easily to me now. So, and so she opens the door so the water goes out. But she goes, does that make me sad or happy or worst at all? Do I even care? And so here comes Mastermind. Mastermind knew nothing of how I've changed. He still assumed I was still the woman he fought years ago. A fatal miscalculation. And so here comes Wolverine. I've had enough of this, sucker. I hope you enjoyed playing with our heads, bub. Because you'll never get another chance. And Storm holds him and goes, Logan, no. Back off, woman. It's no less than he deserves, snaps Wolverine. And she says, we're not executioners. And Wolverine says, you looked awfully ready a minute ago. And she says, that was in the heat of battle. But he is helpless now. It would be murder, Logan, and that would make us no better than him. So, and Rogue is like, find some drug to keep him unconscious until the professor can devise a more permanent means of restraint. And she says, my scythe hours are fading, but I can still sense some thoughts to stop Mastermind. Storm was ready not only to kill him, but sacrifice the lot of us as well. And so Kitty's like, what a mess. Hey, guys, I got a medical emergency from upstairs here. And so, of course, Cyclops has been shot. And he goes, I'll live. Is everyone else okay? And suddenly he sees Maddie there and screams out her name. And so she's not breathing, so he's going to do CPR on her. And she, of course, begins to cough out. And she's like, here, darling, I'm here. She says, hi. And he's like, hi yourself. That's another Claremont trope. So, all right. So this is the end of Paul Smith right here. Salutes, my man. It was a beautiful short run that you had in the X-Men. And so now we're going to go to the John Romita Jr. portion. John Romita Jr. will be the new penciler along with Dan Green, mostly. Dan Green, by the way, rest in peace. And Dan Green will remain through with Mark Silvestri. So we've got an epilogue here. And of course, we see Cyclops. He's getting ready to get married, and he's visiting the grave of Jean Grey. He's basically putting out his feelings, saying how much he loved her and how much he loves Maddie, and that he's glad that they're not, that, you know, she's a different person, because he's glad that they're two people, and he hopes you understand. And so off they go. We've got a beautiful wedding. Everybody here is dressed. We've got a beast here. I assume this is Angel. We got Amanda Sefton. Corsair is there. Would this be Iceman? I don't know. So so they're gonna have a the wedding here, and so they're even showing it on with the Starjammers here. And so these are Scott's grandparents, and here's Scott's dad. He's still wearing the headband here, and here we go. She's got blonde hair. That's weird. And Scott's like, got the ring, Alex? And he's like, what's it worth to you? He's like, do you want to die? So, and Kitty's thinking of Wolverine, because, you know, his wedding was going to happen. So, of course, we've got the minister going through all the things. And so I'm going to skip that part. And he pronounces her man and wife. Wolverine, of course, is angry, but not angry. He's not angry at this wedding. He's just angry at everything that's happened again. I have a playlist, and Kitty's looking at Colossus. Um, so, and here we go. John Romita Jr. will become the new penciler, as I mentioned, and we get a splash page here with Scott and Madeline. And if you know what's going to happen, good on you. But as I mentioned, we're going to be doing these videos in reading order, so we will get to everything with her, with him, X Factor, when we get to it. But for now, we get a lovely moment here, and of course, we have the credits. Louise Simonson, Jones at this time is still editing. Jim Shooter will remain editor-in-chief for a couple more years. Tom Ozakowski as always. Glynis Ween as always. And Bob Wyachek, I believe, may stick around for a few, but Dan Green will become the primary inker. So, all right. X-Men 175 by Chris Claremont, Paul Smith, with John Romita Jr. as pencilers. Paul Smith, kudos, my man. It was a great short run. Man, oh man. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.